Head to Knoxville, don't be late. Baker's Live, it's gonna be great. June 5th and 6th, mark your date at Dollywood, we'll celebrate. Meet Baker and more cool friends. Live show magic that never ends. Come to Dollywood, feel the vibe. With great people there, it's gonna be a ride. Rides, fun, and meet and greet. Baker and pals, the crew's so sweet. Get ready for laughs, cheers, and thrills. Knoxville's the place, it's giving chills. Meet Baker and more cool friends. Live show magic that never ends. Come to Dollywood, feel the vibe. With great people there, it's gonna be a ride. June 5th and 6th, don't miss the fun. Meet Baker and friends, it's second to none. Baker and friends, it's second to
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, what if any you might be. And welcome to day 6 in the Zachary Hughes case, the Rose Petal murder, the I did it to save the kid case, the what? Case. Today will be the day Zachary Hughes will take the stand allegedly. Apparently, they expect he's going to be the first witness, maybe. I don't know if we ever finished the one yesterday. Yesterday was a whole kind of crazy day, and not only in this case, but don't get me started on all the drama. But they wanted to put on I did it to protect the girl defense. They weren't allowed to. Then they called back the not the lead investigator, the police officer who also did kid cases, and talked to him about something, was shut down, wanted to ask him about the escort stuff, and was shut down. And then, hasta la taco, we went home. I could fear today will be more of the same. Please let us open the door. You won't be allowed to open the door. But just to say something positive, because all you wonderful people have helped me over 13,000 subscribers. So I'll just enjoy it now while it's still over 13,000. YouTube have a tendency to always put me back down to 12,965. So thank you all so very, very much for helping me reach this result. It's wild to think that last year when I started the Karen Reed case, I had, I think, 2,000 subscribers. And then I kind of, while the trial was going on, I hit 3,500 just before I went to, maybe 4,000 just before I went to Knoxville. And when I was in Knoxville, I said, if I get to 4,000 subscribers, I'll come back to Knoxville. Knoxville is planned because all you wonderful people have helped me break all the goals and shatter all my dreams. I still didn't believe that anyone would ever subscribe to my stupid little politics in Denmark channel. But apparently you love Danish politics, and now you're here, and onwards and upwards is what we are saying. Yesterday, the whole judicial system seemed to have had a little stroke. I was quite baffled yesterday. Not so much because what happened in court, because I saw it as a massive overreaction by Bev, but more about how differently everyone saw what happened. I can understand all the all the anti-Cambridge people. They are late in French, and that's fine. They hate her. But people who I normally go to get their analysis and see what they got from it, especially after I did my video, Jemima, Marissa, and Jamie helped me get those clips from the rder and the previous hearings and stuff like that, and went back, re-listened 20 times to what was actually said. I got very surprised when I woke up this morning and went through all of the people I normally think is a good. I don't copy people, but of course I listen to other people as well, because I'm not that smart, and I might be wrong. And some people is going all the way over the cliff on one side. Other people are going all the way over the cliff on the other side. And people are reading something into it I just can't see. And maybe, well, what do I know? I'm an idiot. But I'm just very surprised seeing stuff happening today. And it's almost like maybe some of the people who doesn't dig into it as much, but still are on the can read isn't guilty side, don't know what have been going on all the time in the first trial. They maybe got the cliff note and don't get that a lot of this, again, was a Hankinism. Woohoo, 13K on to 14K and then 15K. Let's make it an even 13,100. That's the goal. The next goal will be 13.1. In Denmark, we don't fly too high. But gracias. I feel like these days people see things the way they want to see them to be, and mostly immovable, even with evidence. This goes for folks on all sides of things. Yes, I was watching some content where I was thinking, you are not that much better than Plevin right now. And I have said it once or twice. I will be the Debbie Downer. I will be the red pill dispensary. I will be the one who always say, let's pump the brakes a little bit on that one. Because there's always something magical happening. And someone heard someone had some evidence. And someone heard someone had a meeting. And someone heard someone say something. Until you see it filed in court, don't trust it. And when you see it filed in court, if it's Hank Brennan who presents it, just wait till he finally says what he really meant, because he lied to the judge, which I don't think you're allowed to, but again, he's not going to get sanctioned because Auntie Bev loves the Commonwealth. But a lot of people should just, and I know it's a big case and a lot of channels are built around this one case, but Calmale, calmale, calmale. Don't go out there and say the world is. Don't be Chicken Little. I know that reference because my kids had that movie. Boom, boom, boom. I swear I'm gonna spend the next week going. It's going to be fine. Hank will look like an idiot. Bill will be sad. All will be semi-normal in the world. Yeah, probably something like that. I've never really watched that. I saw she kind of popped up a couple of weeks ago. I don't. Is she? I don't know. I haven't watched her content. I don't know, but probably a great streamer, guest, whatever she does. I think we are all kind of. Can someone find us a new better row? I think the free can read movement really could use another better row right now to just come in and say, as we say in Denmark, slap A. No, Jamie, it wasn't slap A. It was slap A. She was, but as Marissa said, maybe she had low blood sugar and because she was agitated, started shaking. I don't know. Again, I don't put much into all of that because she clearly came back with wrongful information because Hank lied to her. She thought all of this came from the feds. If you go back and listen to it, can you send over the stuff? The feds have been really good to me before sending me evidence. Could you please ask the people to send it over? And then he admitted, I got it from the defense. So Hank Brennan did a little, She's good at explaining things. Oh, that's good. Yeah, and Turtle Boy was very calm last night, said it was a nothing burger. Angie has a good morning. Well, Runkle is around. Runkle has his own show, so it's more. The good thing about Betterow was every time you texted him, he was always, "Yeah, I'll be there in an hour." So and he didn't have his own show he had to do, and he was very very generous with his time. Objectively, had this been another case, everyone would be like, yeah, judge has a right to be mad if she thinks a side lied to her. And she does, but she also have a right to be mad if the other side lied to her about the other side. And I hope she will be equally as mad because I think she should have said, sorry, this came from the defense. Okay, clear the room. You stay. We go to chambers now. That would have happened in a Borowski courtroom, I believe. Hey, unbalanced. She was out of the bench for 30 minutes. Yes, she was in her chambers. What happened during that time? She read the documents and read them again. And then she came back and believed that this hadn't been turned over by the defense. She might have had a smoke, a pee, and a sandwich. I know people are saying, well, the feds are coming now, and they are on to Bev, and that's why she asked for information. No. She was given a stack of documents, went back, read them. Because she doesn't know her own trial, she didn't know this was talked about both on rder and on the examination, cross-examination. And then she made a stupid ruling. It's not that... as I always say, pump the brakes. Relax. We're going to go next week, and she's going to say, well, Alan Jackson, you didn't disclose the payment, and they're going to say, well, we didn't pay them. It was a retaining fee that they sent a bill for. We never paid them because we never retained them. Our communication was on the up and up, following all the rules. As Mr. Yannetti stated, we talked about them, about the outline and their CV. And then it's going to be some stupid ruling that won't stand. If she tries to kick off Jackson on this one, she's even worse than we think, because it was kind of inferred that it was AJ who lied, but it was actually Yannetti who said to the court that they didn't have any communications with the ARCA guys. And he said that, I believe it was on June 10th. So, again, everything was misstated. Commonwealth has lied to her more times than I can count. She doesn't care about that. Jackson probably didn't lie to her, and she was livid. It's crazy. Yeah, it's... But we know she hates AJ. We know she'll do whatever she can to try and get him out. He knows it as well. He's smarter than we are. And I don't take him for a person who doesn't cross his I's and dot his T's. I have no inclination, because all the anti-Karen Read people are sitting today, well, AJ lied to the court. Well, again, you're stupid because you don't know it was Yannetti who told the court about the contact to ARCA. But they just buy it because Plevin went out there and said, well, AJ's in trouble. How do you know? No one knows what, if any, she lost her mind over. The only thing you can infer is she was reading these documents for half an hour, came back, and then blew a gasket. Until, if you go back and listen, again, I listened to it 20 times. Go back and listen to when she breaks up the meeting, when she asks for the Fed's corroboration, and then when he says, oh, I think I need a brief timeline. And then she finds out, oh, it was from the defense. Her tone of voice changes every time between those. Go back and listen to it, because I think she realized she overreacted. What are the new motions that dropped yesterday? I don't think there was a new motion. There was a habeas corpus. It was, that's for the federal court to take away charge 1 and 3. Probably won't be granted. Just again, don't get your hopes up. Always believe we're starting a new case on April 1st. The Supreme Court didn't believe they had to overturn it, so I don't think it'll get overturned again on this one. They will argue it, I believe, on the, was it the 28th or 25th? They will argue to have the charge 1 and 3 dismissed, but I don't see a high likelihood of that happening. But Paula, then give me the 5 things that you believe that all of a sudden she broke court, came back, only talked about the things that Brennan talked about, but it's not about that. I just can't see where else what else could it be? If you look at it without all the stuff about, I heard Tom and Boston Mike talk about some guys walked over to the federal building. Like that had anything to do with this. It could just be someone was doing a double duty or had been over delivering a pack of papers. We don't know. On the face of it, she got angry when she heard they lied to her, came back, wanted more information from the feds, found out it's not about the feds. I can't see anything else. I really can't see where anyone can infer it must be about something else than that. But I'm willing to be wrong. I haven't seen anyone else deducing. Well, anyone else. I normally watch like loyally, brother, counseling, Brandy Churchwell, TB. Haven't seen any of these people saying, well, it could be something else. I just don't know. Give me the 5 things that you believe it could be if it's not related to this. I don't see anything that it could be that's not related to the thing they directly talked about in court. She should, but it's on the bev. I can't read her mind, but there's no reason to keep him out. She's allowed to have the counsel she wants. Why she needs another affidavit? It's because it's on the bev. I don't even. I talked to Jemima about this earlier. It's astounding to me how little she knows about her own most high-profile case. Yes, she has other cases, but I've been covering the Karen Reed case for 2 years now. I can't verbatim give you what happened in every meeting, but I can do the highlights. I can talk about, well, Jen McCabe's testimony was this and this. Can I remember every of the 60 witnesses? No, I got the highlights. Do I know what motions have been filed? Well, the most important motions. Do I know what was talked about rder on the different witnesses? Yeah, I can recall most of it. She doesn't even know the motions she signed herself. At this time, I'm covering at least one case a week. I'm doing my own jury duty whenever I have to do that. Since Karen Reed ended, I have probably had 15 cases in Denmark. I have covered at least 10 cases online. And I can still remember what the Karen Reed case is about. Ondi Bev doesn't know her own most high-profile case. Why doesn't she get a cheat sheet the day before, reads it, and say, okay, we're hitting this, this, and this. Get your paralegal to say, well, the motion to preserve all evidence, I signed that on this and that date. Oh, motion to compel evidence, I signed that on this and that date. To me, she seems very unorganized, and that's why I think she blew a gasket yesterday, because she didn't know she already knew about this. And I think that's why. Let's get to it. Hey, Maya, how are you doing?
He's working on a defense called Zach Hughes.
Are we going straight? We are going straight into Zach Hughes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Well, I'm only 27, so I have a long time before I hit menopause.
Please state your name for the record.
Zachary David Hughes.
Hey,
Zachary,
Brandon,
how old are you?
are you feeling better?
I'm 32 years old.
Are you married?
No.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I do.
Tell this jury about your brothers and sisters.
I have 5 brothers and sisters. One is my biological brother, Eli, and the rest are my adopted siblings.
At one point, did you have 6 siblings?
Yes, I did.
Talk about that in a minute. Where were you born?
I was born in San Luis Obispo, California.
Did you grow up in the...
Well, he needs to do it because I don't know if you heard yesterday. His defense is a claim that it's a defense in defense of others. The judge didn't allow that defense, but he needs to tell you about the CP and whatever else made him do it. And I still think if he can get the CP in, he'll get a very different sentencing than if he doesn't get it in.
Entirety of your childhood in California?
No, I did not.
From California, where did you and your family move?
We moved to Southwest Virginia when I was 11.
I'm sorry.
While you were still living in California, did you discover that you had an aptitude for music?
Yes, I did.
Oh, and by the way, Pretty Lies and Alibis claims that the courtroom is filled today. Apparently, all of well, not all of them, but the other days, most of them have been to support him.
What, if anything, did your mom or dad do by way of an instrument to help you learn how to play music?
When I was maybe 4 or 5, my dad found an old Gulbranson upright piano at a yard sale, and he bought it for, I think, $300 and rolled it down the street to our house. So I had an instrument to tinker on when I was young, even before I started piano lessons.
Describe, just in general to this jury, what was your, while you were in California and early on in Virginia, what was your home life like?
I think that was when it was in defense of others. Remember, we had all these long breaks yesterday. The judge, I don't think he allowed it.
What was it like to grow up in your house?
Because the daughter wasn't at the scene,
I had
she
a
has
great
no
childhood.
first-hand knowledge.
I have great parents. They raised my biological brother and I before we adopted in a Christian household. They taught us good values, the importance of good morals and service to others, and they supported me in every way imaginable, and I'm very grateful for them.
Zach, you may want to back up just a little bit from the microphone. I think you're getting this a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Thanks. Describe for the jury, you talked about your Christian values in the household. Describe for the jury sort of the, early on at least, the connection between your parents supporting you playing music and the Christian dynamic in your family.
Yeah, originally when I was 9, my parents started me on piano lessons. Our pastor's daughter taught piano lessons, and my dad wanted me to play hymns and family devotions.
You testified earlier that you and your family moved to Virginia. Tell the jury where you and your family moved in Virginia.
It was a town called Abingdon. It's right next to Bristol, Virginia, which is known for the NASCAR Speedway.
Describe to the jury what your family's residence was like. Where did you live, and sort of describe that dynamic.
We moved to a small 3.5-acre farm. My parents liked the idea of raising some farm animals and giving my brother and I the opportunity to do physical work on a farm, and just the opportunity to be close to nature and grow up understanding the value of hard work.
In 2005, did your family grow beyond just you and your brother and your parents?
Yes.
Because I think there's one working mic, and that's the one at the witness stand. I can hear the witness, and I can kind of hear the lawyer.
Describe to the jury how your family grew in 2005.
The church we were a part of at a time really encouraged adoption, especially for families or couples who weren't able to have kids at that point in their life or at all. And as a result of this belief in the church that it was good to adopt, there were emails that would be passed around occasionally, and there was an email that was passed around with a photo of 5 Russian siblings who were up for adoption in Russia. And my family saw these photos, and our heart really went out to these kids. At first, we thought they were all boys because their heads were all shaven for lice, and they were all wearing sort of the same kind of clothes, hand-me-downs. But they were 3 girls and 2 boys. And after a lot of prayer and thought and discussion about it, we decided we wanted to adopt these kids because essentially if we didn't, who would? So,
just briefly, let's talk about these kids. How old was the oldest child at the time your parents adopted them?
She was 10.
What was her name?
Her Russian name was Yelena, but we gave all the kids American names. So her name was Grace when we adopted her.
So Grace was 10. How old was the youngest?
18 months.
We're going to come back to them in just a little bit. At some point, did you and your family moved to South Carolina from Virginia.
Yes.
How old were you when your family moved to South Carolina from Virginia?
I believe I was either 15 or 16.
Where did you and your family move in South Carolina?
We moved to Travelers Rest in Greenville County.
During this time, describe for the jury what is going on in your music progression, your life as a musician, and how you're progressing.
Like I said, I started piano at 9, and when we moved to Virginia, I became increasingly more interested and motivated in it. So by the time I was, say, 14, 15, I was practicing on average 6 to 8 hours a day. We were homeschooled, so this allowed me to do this. And by the time we had moved to Travelers Rest, I was very convinced that I wanted to pursue music as a career.
You testified you were practicing a lot. During this time, did your father do anything to provide the rest of the family some peace while you were practicing so much?
Yes, I like to practice late into the night and into the early morning hours, so my dad actually built me a soundproofed room out in the garage so I could do this without waking the neighbors.
So as your...
We never know what will happen later. It's the same in a lot of the cases. Stuff is kept out. We saw it in the guy who unalived both his mom and dad. Maybe the jury would change their mind when they find out it was the dad he also unalived. We don't know, but you could also say it could be unfair if it was allowed in. I don't know, but it would change everything.
Musical capabilities increased. While you're in high school, did you participate in any music festivals, specifically regional music festivals?
Yes, many.
Did you ever win a prestigious regional music festival?
Yes, several.
Describe to the jury what opportunity you were given in connection with the South Carolina Philharmonic Orchestra.
In 2011, I participated in a high school piano festival in Columbia, South Carolina, at the University of South Carolina called the Southeastern Piano Festival. And part of this festival, there was an international concerto competition. A concerto is a piece for a solo instrument in orchestra, so in this case, solo piano with orchestra. And that was the Arthur Fraser International Piano Competition, and I was awarded first prize. And part of first prize was the opportunity at a later date to perform a full concerto with the South Carolina Philharmonic. And maybe a year later, we did Beethoven's Emperor Concerto.
You testified about high school and your progression as a musician in high school. I want to talk about college. When it came to go for you to go to college, where did you apply to go to college?
I applied to 5 different conservatories in the country.
Were you accepted to any of those conservatories?
I was accepted to 3.
Where did you decide to go to college?
I went to the Juilliard School in Manhattan.
The year you applied, what percentage of applicants were granted admission to Juilliard?
I believe it was 7.2%.
And you were one of those musicians?
Yes.
When you were accepted, what, if any, inducements or incentives did Juilliard give you to attend their institution?
They can't. Prejudicial more than probative has nothing to do with this case. You watched enough cases. You know all of the stuff that we really want in, we can't get in.
They offered me a generous financial aid package and a merit-based scholarship.
When did you begin your education at the Juilliard School?
I matriculated in the fall of 2011.
I want to talk about what you did while you were there. While you were at Juilliard, did you have an opportunity to participate in an international music festival?
Yes, I did.
Please tell the jury about that.
I know it's to build him as a human being, but this has no relevance, and you know me, I hate it when we waste time.
There is an international music students festival in Kyoto, Japan, which is called I think the Rome Music Foundation sets it up, and they try to get music students from all over the world, from different countries, so they get a sampling of different countries, and they have a relationship with Juilliard, so An email was sent out to the student body asking if anyone wanted to participate, and I was selected to represent the states in Kyoto for this festival.
And so how many students from around the world participated in this festival?
Maybe 15 to
Yes, he admitted it. They admitted it during opening statements, and he's there to tell you why.
20.
And how many from America were selected to participate?
1.
And that was just you.
Yes.
Did you graduate from the Juilliard School?
Yes, I did.
When did you graduate?
In May of 2015.
And what was the degree you obtained upon graduation?
A bachelor's of music and piano performance.
Just briefly describe to the jury, after you graduated, what did you do in the music field for employment immediately upon graduation?
I did what a lot of conservatory graduates do who decide not to immediately pursue a higher degree. I did a lot of freelancing. I did some solo gigs, playing concerts. I did some accompanying. I taught some students. And I even took on some work in restaurants to supplement my income.
At some point, were you given the opportunity to be on staff with the Knoxville Symphony?
Yes, I was.
When did you receive, or when was that opportunity given to you?
I heard about the audition, I heard that a spot had opened up for principal keyboardist in the Knoxville Symphony, and I heard about it 3 days beforehand. So last minute, I learned a bunch of excerpts and auditioned, and I was fortunate enough to get the job in 2017.
You talked about the principal pianist. Tell the jury what the principal pianist, what that title means and what your function was.
It is a principal keyboardist, so it's basically any instrument part in the orchestra that has a keyboard I would be playing. So it could be piano, harpsichord, synthesizer, celesta.
Someone mentioned it yesterday. Can you tell me where that rumor comes from? Because it hasn't been provided in the court. It hasn't been shown anywhere in any of the articles I've looked at. And Mello and the daughter had been in Italy for almost a year before this happened. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying there's a lot of talk about it on the interwebs, but I have seen no evidence of a gay relationship. So I don't know where people get it from. I know someone claimed one text said, "I love you." Then we had Valhalla on, and he says, "I love you all the time." And I still, he only kisses me on the cheeks, not on the mouth. So I don't think he really loves me.
Did you begin your employment as the principal pianist for the Knoxville Symphony?
In 2017.
When did your employment end with the Knoxville Symphony?
In 2018.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. Can you be not close friends and still bang each other? Because that's what Valhalla and I do.
What did you decide to do in 2018 that required you to leave the orchestra? Or the symphony, rather.
I decided to enlist with the Marine Corps.
Oh, Reddit. Right after 4chan, maybe the Kiwi Farms, I'll go to Reddit for facts after that.
So, you're a classically trained pianist. You have an
I just
opportunity
want to
with
know
the
what
symphony
evidence they have of anything, but on Reddit, it's
which is regular
gossip
employment,
rumors
you
and
decide
innuendos. Not
to
the
leave
great
that and
YouTube
go
channel, but
serve your country in the Marine Corps, is
just
that correct?
no facts allowed.
Describe to the jury why you decided to leave your job with the symphony to serve your country in the Marine Corps.
Since about my sophomore year of college, it has been something I've been thinking about, military service. And obviously there's a window of time that you're able to do.
Pixie, you're more than welcome. We love you, but always remember, when you go on Reddit, just say, do you have sauces? And not the sauces that you put on your steak.
Do that in as you get older, you hit age limits and so forth. And it had just always been something I was interested in, the service of others, service to others aspect of it. I felt like
it provides some context. Yeah, if the context is right, that's my problem, because someone was telling us yesterday too that they had a gay relationship. And I just haven't seen any evidence of it. So the context, if the context is right that they were gay lovers, could be interesting. If the context is, well, two men who talk together, they must be gay, then It's maybe not so contextual, more rumors.
In a sense, I owed a debt to my country and to do some military service. And I also wanted the opportunity to experience a difficult training environment. And I figured the Marines they had a reputation of being the hardest, so that's the branch I decided to go for.
What, if any, attributes of your childhood or the home environment as you grew up, what, if any, of those attributes played into your desire to join the Marine Corps?
I think the way my parents had always instilled in us a good work ethic and important sense of just a moral duty to others, it seemed like a very good opportunity for me to further develop some of these things in myself.
We all love Pixie. Don't take it as anything against Pixie. I'm just you know me, I am the red pill dispensary. I will shoot down every rumor, innuendos, and gossip, because I'm just a mean, sad, old grandpa who hates everything. That's why you love me, Danny, because if you ever get me to Texas, you'll stick the pics on me and make me disappear.
You testified that initially you enlisted in the Marine Corps. Ultimately, did your journey continue as an enlisted person in the Marine Corps?
No.
Why not? Tell this story.
I was speaking with my recruiter, and they ask you a lot of questions, just trying to figure out who you are and what aptitude you might have for different aspects of the service you were going for. And he found out that I had a college degree, which meant, unbeknownst to me, that I was eligible for officer candidate school. So as soon as they found that out, they tried to funnel me into, it's a different recruiting program, but they got me in touch with the officer selection officer and encouraged me to go the officer route.
Valhalla, how many battlefield pianists have you needed in your time in the Navy? Any college degree, and you're eligible for. I know officers is the enemy's best weapon is a second lieutenant, but just any college degree and you can go into the officers recruiting program. This guy's a pianist. He didn't solve a lot of math equations. He probably learned how to do a tenth and a quinth and whatever it's called in music theory, but I was only a very lowly private in the Danish Navy Army. I never ever used, other than I got my enlistment done by playing music, I never used it on deployment where they said, hey, can you go out and play for the enemy? I think Fyre right now would be, it would calm them down.
During the selection process for officer candidate school, were you living in Tennessee at the time?
Yes, I was.
And briefly, if you would, describe for the jury during that period in Tennessee what the process was that was used for officer candidate school, or OCS, for selection.
It's a little different than recruiting. You have to go through a pretty rigorous selection process to even be invited to OCS, so you spend a lot of time with your OSO, or your officer selection officer, and it's their job to essentially train you up and get you ready so that you can pass the review board to get an invitation. So when I was living in Tennessee, I was doing a lot of training with him, preparing for this.
In Tennessee at the time, was there a board that also was tasked with reviewing applications for OCS?
Yes, there was.
And the cycle where you participated or your application was evaluated, do you know how many applicants the board authorized to go forward with OCS during that cycle?
One.
Was that your application?
Yes, it was.
Let's talk about OCS. At the time you began your journey in the Marine Corps, did Marine Corps personnel try to push you to a different area than you wanted to go to?
Yes, they did.
Describe to this jury what they asked you to do or what they wanted you to do.
As a recruiter, there are different boxes that I think you get bonuses in a certain sense if you can check, and one of those is the Marine Corps Band. So when they found out I had a background as a pianist, they really tried to get me to join the Marine Corps Band.
And when they asked you to join the Marine Corps Band, what did you say?
I declined. That wasn't the reason I wanted to join. I wanted to experience a different side of life, and I was interested in infantry.
let's talk about OCS. During officer candidate school and your time there, were there metrics that were used by OCS personnel to evaluate physical fitness?
Yes.
Describe to the jury what those metrics were.
There's something called the PFT, the physical fitness test, and it consists of 3 areas. It's pull-ups to failure, maximum crunches under 2 minutes, and a 3-mile timed run.
That's always the thing, and they will always present themselves well. It's go back and watch the self-defense case out of Florida, the ballet dancer. She was very little, very mousy, but she got 4 shots off. You can never tell. Didn't they? All the ladies say that. What was his name? The one in the Volkswagen. He was such a sweet little guy, and he seemed so innocent. And then he stabulated all of them. But I just don't. I know it's story building. I know it's building a backstory, but so he couldn't live playing music. So he tried to go to the Marines to get. I love that everyone who joins the forces did it to try to get into the hardest job ever. You probably didn't want to bust tables anymore and teach kids how to play music. So you just wanted a job, and you can always get a job in the army. And I get to the meat and potatoes.
What's a perfect score on that?
You can get a maximum of 100 in each of the 3 areas, so a perfect score would be 300.
What was your score?
294.
Valhalla had a 301.
Ultimately, were you able to complete officer candidate school?
And those gender studies have paid themselves all the way back for all your deployments.
No, I was not.
Why were you not able to complete officer candidate school?
I was dropped after the 3rd week of officer candidate school due to level 3 stress fractures in both of my tibias.
So you had broken legs.
More or less.
At the time you were forced to leave officer candidate school, what percentage of the class were you in?
I was in the top 3%.
Do you remember how many members were in your OCS class at this time?
It was more than 400.
When you left OCS, how did you leave it with the Marine Corps?
The CEO of Quantico, which is where Marine Corps OCS is at, asked me to return. He essentially told me to go home, heal, retrain, and come back.
And we'll talk about this more, but ultimately, did you return?
No, I did not.
At this time, do you consider yourself a United States Marine?
No, I do not.
Why?
That's a title you have to earn, and since I haven't completed my training, I did not earn it.
After you suffered the fractures in your legs, where did you go to
I'm
get
sorry,
treatment?
it's not funny. He broke his legs. Maybe it's because I used to play the tuba and the bass drum, and I'm built a little more solid than this guy. I also used to be the light machine gunner because I'm a fatso, and they always give the LMG to the fatsos in the Danish military. Not in the American, because Valhalla got it in his. I have dragged a lot of weight around, but this guy got stress fractures 3 weeks into his training. The officer material, no doubt.
I went back to Traveler's Rest, where my family is.
Opening statements, and then at detective, they couldn't ask the questions they wanted to ask.
And I stayed with them while I was healing.
And just to put a time on this, is this approximately 2019? Is that right?
This is late January of 2019.
So now you're living with your family in Travelers Rest here in Greenville County. While you were living with your family and rehabilitating your legs, were you presented with an opportunity to play music?
Yes, I was.
Describe to the jury what that opportunity was.
Through a series of mutual acquaintances, a woman by the name of Jeanette Wynn sent me an email, and asked me if I would be willing to play an inaugural concert for their church. They had just received a gift of a very fine piano, and they wanted to have this concert sort of as a thank you to the donor and to show the congregation what it sounded like.
And so you were asked to perform using the gift of the piano that the church had received, is that correct?
Yes.
What was your response to that invitation?
At first I was inclined to say no because I was about 6 months out of practice. But the more I thought about it, it seemed like it would be a good thing to do while my legs were healing, so I accepted.
Describe to the jury, when did you play the inaugural concert on the piano on that period?
I believe it was in June of 2019.
Were you to be paid for the performance?
Yes, I was.
Describe to the jury what the arrangement for the payment would be.
It was a flat fee honorarium for this one concert.
And was the concert well received?
Yes, it was.
I want to talk about, just briefly, you mentioned Jeanette Wynn in your introduction to the Wynn family. You first met Jeanette Wynn and other members of the Wynn family in what year? Was it 2019?
In 2019, yes.
And over time, did you develop a friendship with the Wynn family?
Yes, I did.
While you developed this friendship, did you share with the Wynn family a long aspiration you had held in the music context?
I'm sorry, everyone. I know this is the third time I'm grumpy about it, but I don't give 2 cents about his musical aspirations. I want to know why he went up to the front door of a house, walked in, stabulated a woman 31 times, and why he believed he was in his right to do so. I'm not here to find out if his Beethoven's Fifth is the greatest Beethoven Fifth ever played, if his rendition of My Way comes off the piano like a young Fred Astaire, or if he can do the like the rest of us. I really want to go to the murder part of the murder trial.
Yes, I did.
Tell this jury what that aspiration was.
Growing up, Beethoven had always been my favorite composer and something of a personal hero. And in 2020, that was going to be the 250th birthday for him. So I had this dream that I really kind of put on the back burner when I was intending to go through OCS. Well, this dream of playing all 32 of his piano sonatas in a series of concerts. And in passing, I shared this with the Winns.
And when you shared that aspiration you had with the Winns, what was the reaction of the Winns and their church members?
They were very enthusiastic about the idea.
And so their support of your dream, what effect did that have on your decision to go back to the United States?
Playing all of these sonatas is not something you can really just decide to do. You need a venue to present them at, so you need external support. And when I realized how enthusiastic the Winns and their church congregation were about this, I realized that there was actually a real way to do this. So it presented me with a very difficult decision, whether to go back to OCS or whether to do this passion project of mine that I didn't think I was going to ever be able to do. And I eventually chose to do the Beethoven sonatas.
Let's talk about this project. You said 32 Beethoven sonatas.
Yes.
How many pages of music comprises the 32 sonatas?
It's over 600 pages.
If you played those from beginning to end, how long would it take to get through all 32 sonatas?
It depends how fast you go, but roughly 11 to 12 hours.
To your knowledge, how many people have been able to accomplish this endeavor?
I don't know the exact number. It's not many. It's something, probably only a dozen or two pianists have ever.
Hello, Monica. And if you have any questions, always ask them. Chat is very helpful. I'm very grumpy today. Me and Pixie, I was a little harsh to her. I'm sorry, Pixie. You know I love you. You stay up late for me, and then I am grumpy. But if you have any questions, if you don't know that much about the case, please ask.
Recorded. As to how many pianists have actually done it, I don't know if there's a record of that.
So let's talk about what you did to prepare. We're in 2019. When was the first concert on this project? When was that? When were you to perform that concert? When was that?
In January of 2020,
Where was that going to be? Where was that performance going to take place?
at the Winds Church.
To prepare for this inaugural concert, where were you living?
At first, I was living with my family, and at a certain point, the Winds extended an invitation to me to live with them because they had a piano that I could practice on, and I think they wanted to hear me practice.
So let's talk about January of 2020. Did you have your inaugural concert for this project in January 2020?
Yes,
And where did you perform this concert?
at the Winds Church.
Were you to be compensated for this concert series?
The concerts were donation-based, and the church and I had agreed to split the proceeds 50-50.
Did you perform that concert in January of 2020?
Yes, I did.
How was it received?
Very well.
What percentage of the project, meaning how many sonatas, did you perform in the first concert?
I played 3 sonatas in the first concert
When was the next concert?
in February of 2020.
How many sonatas did you perform in the second concert?
I think 2
When was the third concert?
in March of 2020.
And how many sonatas did you perform in the March concert?
I believe 3.
Was there were you able to perform a fourth concert in April of 2020?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
COVID had happened, which was making public gatherings impossible at the time.
So up until April of 2020, if you had to guess, what percentage of the project were you able to complete in those 3 performances?
Maybe a fifth to a quarter.
All right. During this time, were you working anywhere else to make a little extra money?
Yes, prior I had been working at Gianna downtown serving, and at some point I started working there again after COVID had happened, and I also took on some work with my dad painting houses and laying brick.
So when the pandemic hit, did that put a complete end to your music performances?
For the time being, yes.
At some point, did you decide to perform outside during the pandemic?
Yes, I did.
What instrument did you use to conduct performances?
That's always the thing. In some cases, you look at them. Some of the cases is easy. If you go back and watch the Adam Montgomery trial, yeah, you can believe he's doing a lot of bad stuff. But then you go and watch the Ashley Benefield trial, or I'm blanking on every name today. The kid who shot her mom. This when Jamie isn't here, I think why can't I remember the name? Carly Gregg, yes. Thank you, SB. You watch them and you think they could never do anything wrong. She's more or less on camera pew-pewing her mom. And you also have that they dress for court. So if you saw them out on the street, I don't think this pianist guy would look that much different, but sometimes they... I can't with the CPAP machine, but they'll look as innocent as possible in court.
Outside.
I saved up some money and bought what was the best electronic keyboard on the market at the time, and I needed something portable, and I also wanted something that would do justice to the pieces I was trying to play, so it was a Roland DeVie piano.
Someone.
Where did you, or how did you get the money to pay for the piano?
Through working with my dad.
So after you got the piano, did you begin to play music on the streets of downtown Greenville?
Yes, I applied for a performer's permit for public spaces, and then I started several times a week taking my keyboard downtown and playing these sonatas at various spots in downtown Greenville.
When did you start performing in downtown Greenville?
It would have been sometime in the summer of 2020.
Where were some of your most frequent locations where you perform music in downtown Greenville?
Probably the most frequent was right in front of Spill the Beans at the entrance to Falls Park, where the fountain is.
I want to talk about an evening in August of 2020 while you were performing outside Spilled Beans. While you were performing, did anyone make contact with you and introduce himself to you?
Yes,
Who was that?
that was John Mello.
Was John Mello by himself, or was anyone with him?
He was with his daughter, Aida Mello.
How old, best you can recall, how old was Aida at the time?
She was 8.
Tell this jury about the interaction you had with John Mello when he first introduced himself when you were Principal Beans.
I didn't know who he was, but he came up and said he was a musician and asked if I'd be willing to take a request. He said his daughter's favorite piece was Claire de Lune, and I know that piece really well. It's a favorite piece of mine, so I played it for her.
Everyone knows Claire de Lune.
What, if anything, did you observe about Aida while you were playing Claire de Lune?
Like I said, she was 8, so she was pretty young. I had taught a lot of kids before, so I had experience with kids.
I think the DNA would have been a problem, but they could get a DNA, if they could get a DNA expert to come in, I think there was a chance he wouldn't get convicted.
That age and their attention spans, which tend to be very short. So I was.
He just, we're just getting into the Mello stuff. Mello approached him while he was busking on the street, asked him to play Claire de la Lune, the song you all know and love. And now we're getting into how their relationship started.
Really impressed. I could see her out of the corner of my eye, and she was just enraptured from start to finish. Like she wasn't running around, she wasn't on a device, she was just completely caught up in the music, and that made a big impression on me.
After
Da 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 da. Da 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 ba 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 yeah da 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 da.
you played John Mello's request, before he left, what, if anything, did he give you?
He gave me a business card.
Did you use it to make contact with him after that first meeting?
Yes, I sent him an email.
Why did you follow up and begin to communicate with John Mello after that first meeting?
I got the impression from a few things he said and from the card that he was in the rock and roll world, which that's something I had never had much contact with as a classical musician. And he seemed like a great conversationalist. He was charismatic and outgoing, and I thought it'd be interesting to get coffee with him at some point.
And did you meet with John again after that night in August of 2020?
Yes, I did.
I want to talk about the period between the time you met John and Aida Mello in August of 2020 until the beginning of October of 2020. During that period of time, how many times did you physically meet with John Mello?
Maybe 6 or 7 times.
When you met with him, was he by himself or was with Aida with him?
With one exception, Aida was always with him.
Tell the jury what the activities you and John and Aida would do together in that period.
We'd get coffee a few times. I saw him and Aida spontaneously because I was performing and they walked out like the first time. We got pizza once. We went to an art gallery, things like that.
That sounds a
Tell
little
the
bit like a
jury
relationship.
what your impressions were of Aida as you got to know her.
As I gather it, they met April the year before this happened. So this is just before he goes to Italy.
In the late summer, early fall of 2020.
They were extremely positive. She's a really special kid. She was definitely mature beyond her years, like I talked about. She could hold a conversation with adults. She looked you in the eye. She seemed really cultured, like she'd had a lot of exposure to different places. She traveled like almost as much as I had. She was always telling me about trips she and her dad.
This was a year before, so I don't know if he knew about it at that time.
Had taken, and it was just very evident to me that she was a very healthy, loved child. She clearly loved her dad, and it was obvious that he had done a great job raising her. And I was convinced that she was a happy, healthy kid, and he was a great father.
Let's fast forward to the beginning of October of 2020. When is your birthday?
October 2nd.
On your birthday, October the 2nd, 2020, how did you celebrate your birthday?
At this point, Aida had visitation with her mother, Christina Parcell. So this was the one time I saw John where she wasn't with him. And John wanted to show me some of his favorite taco stands out on White Horse Road. So we celebrated my birthday together and went to a couple bars, had dinner, ended up getting tacos at the end of the night.
At the beginning of the night, what was John's mood?
Very festive.
I think you misunderstood what I said. He claimed he read the documents, and then she read the documents and contacted the state and got this, which he then later retracted and said, "I got this from the defense." So even though he claimed it was McLaughlin who was who noticed it first, after Bev blew her mind, he had to retract and say he actually got it from the defense. So if AJ is going on, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not inside Bev's head. I have no idea. I wish I could tell you. I know some of the YouTube lawyers believe that this is the worst thing since Marmite. Other people think this is a big old nothing burger. It's totally misstated. All I do is I give red pills and punch the brake. Let's see what happens next week. I would love that they told the defense what they had to go home and prepare for, because she didn't tell them. She just said, so everyone can be prepared for next week. And then she stormed out, and Hank stormed out as well. And I know some people are claiming, well, it was about the same time that the federal motion was filed, the 700 pages habeas corpus document. But again, I can't see that has any impact on her. And it wouldn't help her if she blew her mind over a nothing burger because she was angry over a federally filed document. It's a different court. She wasn't, some said, well, she was looking at her phone. Well, she's not reading 700 pages while she's on the stand. So let's just pump the brakes, see where the road takes us, and enjoy the ride, because it'll be more crazy before we go to court.
And by the end of the night, had his mood changed?
Yes, it had.
Describe what his mood was at the end of the night.
Towards the end, at one of these taco stands, he became very pensive and even distraught. And he started to tell me about really grave concerns he had about his daughter, specifically when his daughter was with her mother, Christina Parcell. And he essentially said that whenever Aida's mother had visitation, he just never could rest easy until he got Aida back. And that he just didn't trust her, and he thought that she wasn't responsible and that she might even hurt her at some point. And I mean, frankly, it kind of, I mean, the mood of the evening took a big dip because of this. It was clear that he just was terrified about the danger his daughter was in, and this made a big impression on me.
So when you were with John on your birthday on October 2nd, 2020, where were Aida and Christina Parcell?
I believe they were on a road trip to see family, maybe in Alabama or somewhere farther down south.
When was she due back to Greenville?
I believe the next day, or in the next couple of days.
When she returned, where were Aida and John going to go?
They were going to go to Italy.
Did John tell you that?
Yes.
When John told you that he and Aida were going to go to Italy, what did you think about that? What was your reaction to that?
I thought it was great. I knew at this point that John's parents were Italian, and Aida, I thought, stood to gain a great cultural experience from it. And I just thought if I had had the opportunity to travel and live in Italy when I was 8, I would have jumped at that. So I was really excited for both of them.
Did they go to Italy?
Yes.
Um, so in October, John and Aida Mello go to Italy. Tell this jury what you're doing in October, November of 2020, musically and otherwise.
At this point, musically, I was still performing on the streets of Greenville, and I was also talking with someone who curated a museum of historic instruments downtown, the Sickle Music Museum. This man was Tom Strange, and we were discussing the possibility of revamping the Beethoven project I had been planning to do that got cut short by COVID by essentially doing the concert series again throughout 2021, but this time recording them so that we wouldn't have to deal with the issue of gatherings with COVID going on.
And did you and Tom Strange solidify a plan for resurrecting the Beethoven project?
Yes, we did.
Just generally speaking, describe for the jury sort of the intensity of the schedule, the intensity of the lead up to that.
Because the instant he asks the questions, they will object. He won't get to answer it. And they have been, I bet you, reprimanded not to say it.
Project.
Yeah, so as a classical musician, at least, just because you've played a piece doesn't mean that like you know it forever and you're never going to forget it and it's never going to cost you any more work. It would be like you may have run a marathon once before in your life, but if you haven't trained for a year, it's not going to be easy for you if you go and try to do it again. So I was going to have to relearn all of this repertoire because I'd only been playing certain of the sonatas downtown. And with the recording schedule, I was going to be meeting with him. There was going to be other people and other equipment involved. So essentially, I was going to have to commit to a schedule where we'd meet more or less once a week to record one sonata a week throughout 2021 and stick to that schedule. So it was going to be strenuous and a lot of work, and I knew this going into it.
And when was the first recording set to occur on the project with Tom Strange?
I think around January 2021.
And beginning in January, how many performances on the project? What was the time frame on the remaining performances on the project?
Again, it was roughly one a week. These sonatas are not all the same length. Some are short as like 12 minutes. Others, one lasts about 45 minutes. So depending on the piece, we were allocating enough time for me to get ready.
All right, so let's talk about from, again, October to April of 2020. John and Aida leave in October. Between October and April, describe to the jury what the communications were you were having with John Mello, the frequency of the communications. Just tell them about it.
Like I said, I was excited for them. I was excited for Aida to be able to have this experience. Based on what John had told me about Aida's mother, I thought it was good that there was distance in between them. And our communications had died off a bit after they left. John is interesting. He's also a lot. He's a very dramatic person, and it was a bit of a relief to just not be running into him downtown all the time because I had a lot of practice I was doing, and sometimes I didn't have time to hang out as much as he might have wanted to. So our communications petered out.
Were you relieved in some ways that your communications with him had slowed down or stopped?
He just said that.
Yeah.
Right. In April of 2021, did your communications with John and the frequency of them increase dramatically?
Yes.
Why did your communications with John increase dramatically in April of 2021?
Like I said, our communications had petered out, but they hadn't completely ceased. So he had let me know that Christina Parcell, Aida's mother, had been filing, I think, some stuff with the family court in Greenville in order to try to get her daughter back. He was very worried that she might succeed in doing this for reasons I've already spoken about. And in April, he sent me a message, and it was clear from the text that he was very upset, just saying that, Zach, they took Aida. What am I going to do? Something about along those lines.
After he told you in April of 2021 that they had taken Aida,
I was on Harry from Alles nur geklaut the other day, and he actually found some YouTube videos of him playing Für Elise, and I believe it's Beethoven's Fifth. So yes, you can find it online. His some of his music, but I don't know about those fancy concerts he wanted to have. But again, they only played 4 because of the coof.
in to tell you in greater detail what his concerns were and more information about his concerns?
Yes.
What happened next?
At this point, I found myself in kind of a conundrum because, like I said, I appreciated having some distance from John. But by the same token, I was becoming increasingly more concerned about his daughter, Aida. So while I might have wanted to not continue communicating with John for the sake of his daughter, I felt that I had a certain sense of responsibility to help him with what he was dealing with his custody battle for his daughter's sake. We began communicating probably every day, at least by text, often by phone calls. I was giving a lot of time towards hearing what he had to say, towards trying to help him in any way I could. Some of the things I did to help him were, first, he needed counsel. He needed a lawyer in family court. So I was calling a bunch of lawyers in Greenville, trying to find someone who could help him, and by helping him, help Aida. I ended up cleaning his house in Greenville. He had left it with a tenant who absolutely trashed it. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. Like, the air was hardly breathable. So I was buying a dehumidifier, getting cleaning supplies, hiring Mikey Manigo, who testified last week, to help me clean out his house so that he would have a place to show family court. And, that he had a home that would be a safe place for a little girl and him to be living in. I told him when he came back, I'd pick him up from the airport. But notably, while we were having these conversations, he began to tell me in much more detail what his concerns were about Christina Parcell.
Someone said earlier it was like he's grooming him. It could sound a little groomy. I'll start out by saying, "Oh, I don't trust my ex-wife," and then build up the pressure. I don't know.
And, well, in order for you to understand what my reaction was to what he was telling me, you need to know what my experience was with my oldest adopted sibling, Grace. So when we adopted these kids, we really didn't know much about them.
Objection, Your Honor, may we approach? Sure.
That's the attempt you made. You shouldn't have said that, because now you gave them the opportunity to object. And of course they did, and there will be a sidebar. What does he say?
Will you please take the jury back to their...
The jury have been sent back for the first time in forever. Well, that was the attempt to get into why he got so mad, is because when they adopted the 10-year-old from Russia, she had also been molested, and when he heard it again, he absolutely lost his mind and had to do this to protect another girl from living through what he saw every day in his house with Grace, because she was ruined from years of abuse. I don't know if that's what he's going to say, because he's not going to be allowed to do it. I don't know if that's what they planned, but I bet you that is more or less exactly what he was going to say, because that would give them an out to get CP in there without getting CP in there, and why he was helping this poor man who lost his daughter to a sex monster. Because it's highly prejudicial to the deceased, and they have had multiple rulings on it by the judge that they are not allowed to talk about it. So that's why he's not allowed to talk about it. He's claiming he went there and unalived her to help the daughter. We know they talked about that yesterday as well and said, well, you can't talk about that because she wasn't at home when it happened, so you didn't save her from imminent danger. And the murder happens when the murder happens. The murder didn't happen because something happened 2 months ago, with the defense he's claiming. So. I don't have a tuba. I haven't played music in a very long time. Yes, she was. We don't know. What we know is that the fiance is in prison because the police found thousands of pictures that they claim have her on them in sexual positions with her mother. There's pictures of her friend. There's a civil suit that I read part of the first day, which is, if you don't like sleeping and you want to hate humanity, go read that civil suit. Yes, she was being allegedly very much abused. Well, it takes away the imminent part of a self-defense claim. It's kind of like the Sarah Boone. She accidentally self-defended herself because she got scared and then he passed away at some point. She didn't know when. You can't claim that. That's not self-defense. I'm pretty sure he would love me. I would start every time he goes to the trash can in the middle of the night. I'll just play my tuba. Ba 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 ba. Maybe she's through to out him and ruin him. I don't understand that. I don't think there's anything good in those pictures. It's the civil suit reads really, really badly. What's happening?
Thank you. I
Yeah, I'm
don't
getting
say
it
this
in.
lightly, but my oldest sister, Grace, was the most evil human being I've ever met in my life.
Jamie, he hasn't met you.
She was 10 when she came into our family. The Russian government didn't tell us much about the kids, so we weren't aware of any, if any, behavioral issues there may have been. And there were many, but specifically with her. I would describe her without reservation as an affectionless psychopath. It wasn't that she was immoral, it was more that she was amoral. She didn't have a sense of right and wrong. Her emotional compass was seemingly non-existent. She was just dead inside. She was a masterful manipulator and deceiver. She could lie at the drop of the hat for reasons that might involve her personal gain or just for the heck of it. She would invent the most absurd, crazy, gruesome stories just to get a reaction out of people. And she could talk about this stuff with the same tone that you might talk about making a sandwich. And this from a girl that I knew between the ages of 10 to 14. It was incredibly disturbing, and the things I learned about that type of personality have stayed with me my entire life because I've never met someone like this since. And with one exception, I had never even heard someone describe another human being like this. And one of the things that is so dangerous about someone like this is, she was literally like a vampire who would just suck the goodness out of other people around her. She could be very emotional, and she would fake these emotions in order to elicit a response in you, a sympathetic response. And if, for instance, you were accusing her of doing something like stealing or hurting one of her siblings, she would weep and just beg you to believe her and say, no, I didn't do it. And then if you would present her with irrefutable proof that we knew you had indeed done this, it was like a mask would just fall off her face. And I mean, she'd just look at you with shark eyes.
Gonna need a bigger boat.
And no matter how many times we would go through this cycle with her, where she would deceive us and betray our trust and hurt people in our family, she would always reel us back in, because there's something in normal, good people that wants to believe that someone like this can change. You want to believe that, you know, there's redemption for someone like this and that they might change their ways and become a better person. And she knew that. And she would use that in order to ingratiate herself again and regain our trust, only to betray that big trust again harder than.
Can we... What's the odds I'm going to be right that he will say that she was this way because she was continuously raped in Russia?
She had the first time. And this happened dozens of times, and it created an incredible amount of strife in our home. She
is the oldest of the 5 adopted kids his parents got from Russia when he was younger. Where we're going to go with it, I don't know. I know they're going to talk about someone who was going to testify about long-term damages by being molested. Probably to say this is what he lived with, and he was going to save this poor girl from ending up like Grace, who we're going to find out she's probably either dead in a ditch or walking the streets, because she must be in her... He's in his early 30s, so she's probably mid-30s. And we're probably going to find out she ended up in a very bad position in life, and they'll blame that on, again, I'm just guessing, but speculating that it has to do with being raped in Russia.
Manipulate my parents and drive a wedge between them. She was just an incredibly intelligent person and incredibly evil. And having met someone like that, it made me able to understand, and even though I didn't want to, accept the fact that people like this exist, whether you want to believe it or not. And if you trust them, you are only ever going to get hurt by them again. You have to forgive them at some point. And that was a very difficult thing for me to do. It took me years, but eventually I had to accept an apology from this girl that I never got and was never going to get. And I had to do it for myself. But I would never trust her again. That would be insane, for my own safety or for the safety of others. So this is an experience which I think is somewhat unique. I think most people have not met someone like this. And I mean, we might watch true crime documentaries or things like this, and we know that technically these people are real, but they exist on Netflix or in someone else's lives, and we never once believe that it could be
Haven't
someone
seen
we
anything
know,
about it.
or that it could be someone living next door, or that it could be someone that our children play with, or someone we might allow to look after our kids. So knowing this is essential to understanding my reaction to what John began to tell me about Christina Parcell in April and May of 2021 after Aida had been taken back to Greenville. He started describing Christina Parcell's character and her personality. And as he was going through various points, he kept...
Oh, so it's Christina who's like his sister. I thought that he was saving Ada from being like Grace. I'm all the way off today. It must be the grumpy grandpa vibes that's ruining my psychic powers today.
saying, Zach, I know you're not going to believe me. Like, I know this sounds overblown and dramatic, and you probably think I'm exaggerating. And under other circumstances, I would have, because John does, I mean, he's a big storyteller. And, you know, when people are talking about their exes, like, everyone thinks their ex is the Antichrist. So, of course, I was sort of predisposed to be biased against what he was telling me, except for the fact that point by point, everything he described about Christina Parcell was exactly the same as my sister Grace. He told me that Christina Parcell was a master manipulator. He said she can lie at the drop of the hat and you'll never know it. He said she was incredibly charming. He said she was incredibly intelligent and talented. He used to say she was smarter than he was, but that her biggest fault was that she was lazy. And she had this arrogance combined with her laziness that was essentially born out of the fact that she knew she...
Talking about being lazy. Zach, so this beautiful, brave, starving artist is just like Van Gogh, except instead of chopping an ear, he get... Thank you, Zach.
never really had to work too hard at anything in life.
Hello, Helena.
And she could even sacrifice trust with people and tell them.
And welcome all the Megan Fox raiders. And welcome to this trial, which is a weird trial. This is the defendant. He allegedly stabulated a woman 31 times to save the woman's daughter from the woman. He knew the daughter's father. It's a little convoluted. What we do know, which hasn't been brought up in trial, is this guy is arrested for a murder that happened. When they searched the electronic devices from the victim and the victim's boyfriend, fiance, they had an on-off again relationship, they find a lot of CP. They actually find thousands of pictures of CP. And pictures of the daughter on that CP. All of that has been kept out of the courtroom. They haven't been allowed to talk about it. This guy said, I did do it. I did it to protect the girl. But he wasn't allowed to bring that in. So it's going to be interesting. Right now, but the state has arrested, and it's his time to tell his story. And I have a hard time following all of it, why he believed that he was in the right to stabulate someone 31 times that he didn't know. But again, he claimed he grew up in a house with a sister who was an evil woman, and that's the same as the mother was. And they have tried the entire time getting that CP into the case because maybe the jury will see he did a good thing instead of a bad thing by unaliving someone who belongs in Mr. Chippy, which the mom does, because if you have thousands of pictures with your own daughter, some of them engaged in various sexual activities with your mom, and there is a rumor they did it to sell the pictures or maybe also sold access to the girls. So, interesting. No one understands us poor starving artists. Our souls are too beautiful for this world. No, Zach, stay away from the light. Stay with us.
Lies that could easily be found out because ultimately she was completely confident in her ability to reel someone back in, no matter how bad she had burned them before. And he could have been describing Grace to me because I knew this behavior. I had lived through this behavior. So at this point...
I'm sorry. When he was describing these features to you of Christina, had you ever told him about Grace? Did he know anything about Grace?
No. I don't... I don't make a habit of talking about grace to people. One, it's incredibly difficult to speak about, and two, most people, having not met someone like that, it just doesn't really land most of the time. They don't understand what you're talking about. So no, John had no idea that I'd had this experience with grace, which made me realize that.
Well, that's his claim. They were arguing it yesterday, but he's not allowed to use it as, because it's self-defense of others is his defense, but he's not allowed to talk about it because the daughter wasn't at home when it happened. So you can't self-defend someone or yourself without the clear and present danger that you have to self-defend against. Because just because someone had a pew-pew, you can't go over there 2 weeks later and self-defense them. It has to be closely related. And the daughter was at school. And then you can say, well, he could just contact the authorities. They did. We had probably the worst human being on the planet, the guardian ad litem. She was horrendous and seemed like she didn't give 2 cents about anything.
There was no way he could have possibly invented this, because no one would get it right point by point by point unless they had met one of these people. And that was the first thing that really raised a huge red flag with me and made me think that despite the fact that he can exaggerate and overblow the truth, and he's often not very believable when you listen to him, I was convinced at that point that he must be describing something true, because no one would know how to describe it so specifically and accurately if they were just making it up. And I was right to believe him. So, in addition to this description of her character, and one last thing about Grace and Christina by correlation, one thing Grace was just, she had an addiction to doing was not merely stealing from you or sucker punching one of her siblings just to assert dominance or doing other terrible things to her siblings. She would recruit her other younger siblings to do these things for her.
No, because he can't bring in, there has been several motions, pre-trial, during trial, where they want to bring it in. They claim, and I believe so, the defense, the state have opened the door for it twice, in my belief. The guardian ad litem and the sister opened the door, so they should be able to bring it in, but the judge have said nope. I think the reason why he can't use it is because he had no direct knowledge of it. He never got it from the ex-husband of Christina, the dad of the kid. I think that could possibly be why the judge won't allow it in.
She would get off on making little duplicates of herself and training and enlisting her siblings to act as proxies for her, so that she wouldn't actually get in trouble, because she knew that we all had our eyes on her because of her behavior, and we knew we couldn't trust her. So if she even had 2 minutes with one of her younger siblings where no one was within earshot, she would tell them, hey, Mom's going to go check the mail. I just saw the mail truck go. When she's doing that, I want you to go run into her bedroom and go into her jewelry, or go and get this for me and we'll split it. Go and get that food that Mom said we can't have till the weekend or something. So she was an incredibly corrupting influence on anyone around her that she could exert her influence on. Again, I called her a vampire who sucks the goodness out of others. This is an incredibly appropriate metaphor,
good to see you
because
back.
that's what vampires do. They're intelligent, they're dead inside, and they eventually kill the people around them unless they find someone who might be useful to them, and then they create a duplicate of themselves that they can control. And this is exactly what Grace would do. So when John was telling me all this, I realized that there was an incredible danger that what Christina Parcell was was a future preview of what Aida Mello could potentially become if she was left in this woman's custody and was raised by her.
So your defense is you had to unalive her to protect Ada from becoming the devil. I don't think. I know we have two people who really love this, but without the cheese pizza, I don't think that defense works as well. It's just me, but I am grumpy today, self-admittedly grumpy today.
And the facts have borne out that I was right. But
Objection, Your Honor. Sustained.
Again, try to get it in. Objection, Your Honor. They are not gonna get it in unless he just blurts it out.
We'll instruct the jury to disregard the last comment.
The smart jury will have reasonable doubt. He admitted he did it, so I don't know where the reasonable doubt will come from.
Zach, at some point, was Grace actually removed from your family?
yes,
Describe for this jury why, or the circumstance or the event that prompted her removal from your family.
it had been 4 years of what I've been describing. She had been sent to different girls' homes around the country, many of which had records of never expelling a single student, and she was the first for many of them that they expelled and sent back to us. And it finally just got so bad that we realized she was going to be a physical danger to our family. I discovered a diary that she had made where she described in detail my parents having their eyes gouged out and dying, and how once my parents were out of the way and dead, she would be able to assume her role as rightful queen of the country. So she just had these psychotic, psychopathic delusions of violence and grandeur.
So he read Jamie's diary. Yeah, but again, this is a murder case, and when he admitted to unaliving her, and I just don't know if I just don't trust juries. Why am I grumpy today? I'm just grumpy. It's a Wednesday. I trained legs. I couldn't hit high numbers. I didn't go above 700 pounds in leg press. Could be that's why.
DSS and asked them to remove her from the home.
We're going to come back to that in a second, or in a little while. You testified about things that John told you about Christina. Did he also provide you with other information about Christina that informed your opinion of her or what you came to know about her?
Yes.
What were some of the documents or other pieces of information that John provided you?
Objection, hearsay.
Now, we're not offering it for its truth. We're offering it to show what he knew. If it's State versus Vic outside John, we are not offering it for its truth. Go ahead.
He offered me, among other things, three very pertinent collections of information. One was the photograph.
I don't have any hostility towards this guy. I'm having a hard time believing this is landing. I don't see people are hostile against him. I think a lot of people are more disappointed that he's not allowed to bring in the cheese pizza. But I can't see any real hostility against the person. The hostility is, I think they are going by the telling of the defense the wrong way. It's too long, it's too complicated. It's been going on for almost 2 hours now. Juries will have zoned out by now. And unless he gets to say the word cheese pizza, I don't think it'll work. This is my personal belief. I have advocated for this case should be finished by the only true judgment that could be in this case, and which, if I had been on the jury, I would have let him turn the knob on Lord Chippy for anyone who took those pictures. But I'm a Old Testament kind of guy when it comes to CP. An eye for an eye, and the rest in Lord chippy. So I don't have any animosity against this guy. I don't think you should stabulate people. But when the system fails, I don't think we do enough to stop people who do. Maybe this is a bit too drastic, but I just don't think the defense is working. Don't ever read my diary. I won't, Danny G.
That have been discussed that I sent in mailings to various people, along with advertisements from an escort website, which were connected with these photographs. These photographs were of Christina Parcell in various stages of undress. And John told me that they were prostitution advertisements from her previous career as a prostitute.
That's one element they got in. I didn't think they were allowed to get that in. Let's see if they can get the other stuff in as well.
And looking at these photographs, there was no doubt in my mind that that's what these were. And I don't say this in any way to try to shame. It's simply that, I mean, who said it? Like pornography, you know it when you see it. Well, I think the same can be said in terms of these photographs. They were not cute, sexy, intimate photographs that someone might send to someone they're dating or something. They were lewd and tasteless, and there was a very clear element of advertising, a commercial element.
I have no Tellus vibes from this guy whatsoever. I don't know why Tellus became the guy everyone is vibing after, but I have no... I believe this guy clearly went to the house in his belief that he was saving this little girl. He has convinced me, but I know what was found on the devices. The jury doesn't. And that's why I'm saying I'm not sure it worked. I'm just going to pull back a little bit because I lost it.
I think the same can be said in terms of these photographs. They were not cute, sexy, intimate photographs that someone might send to someone they're dating or something. They were lewd and tasteless, and there was a very clear element of advertising, a commercial element. So when I looked at these, there was a vacant, arrogant, almost derisive look in her eyes that reminded me so much of my sister. It was a look that said, I can get you to do whatever I want because you want what I have.
If you go back and watch The Guardian and Light him, he tried, but they were just, well, he was just an angry ex. That was kind of the vibe she gave me. If you want to talk about giving bad vibes, The Guardian and Light him and the sister clearly needs to be looked into.
I have to offer you. And coupled with this was a deposition from 2016 that Christina Parcell had given.
1 second. Zach. Let me show you, Zach, with Martin's Defense Exhibit 46. Take a look at this.
Yeah, better to get
This is
hung
the
up for
deposition.
contempt of court than life in prison.
All right. This time the defense removed Defense Exhibit 46 in evidence.
State objects.
Not hearsay.
Another sidebar. Well, we're not having as many sidebars as I was fearing. Yeah, but I'm surprised they're getting the dismiss court part in because the judge have kept that out so far. So at least they got that in. I don't know if it was a good thing to talk about. In those pictures, she had that look in her eyes that reminded me of my sister. You don't need to say that. You can say, well, she was an escort and she did corn. Again, who am I to judge? This is a good Christian channel, and on good Christian channels, we say whatever tickles your fancy. I won't condemn you as long as it's consensual. Whatever you did in your past, even if you're a smacks worker, I'll even allow goat farmers on here. But it's that weird feeling where you have the ants running in the back of your head because you just want to come on, say it. Because We know if he can get into that part, everything will change. The jury's mind will change just as ours changed. This is very different. Again, Lord Chippy will arrive when someone hear the CP word. If it's just because someone did corn, you come off more like you're maybe a little too uptight, too bigoted. But if it's CP, oh, it's a different picture. And I know we on this channel don't encourage vigilantism. Always go to the proper authorities. Never, ever take the law in your own hand. That would be wrong. Hey, done it too. Mistrial could be the worst that could happen. That the judge declares it a mistrial. So, yeah. Yeah, but I am a generous host. Yeah, but again, being a pervert and then being a CP pervert, that's because maybe there's someone over there who really likes the Baldo, or who has a smack swing in their kitchen. Who knows what the people on the jury likes? But CP is universally frowned upon. And to me, that I really want that element to come in, because that could change everything. No, I'm not. I think the end of it became better. Surprised nobody claimed they were AI photos. Well, again, he admitted he did it, so he's not. He did harass her. He did unalive her. So why should he claim they were AI? And they show it in like a second, and I had to go back and look to see if I had to blur something out. It's not good pictures. The lighting's awful. It's nothing good. Yeah, that's why I'm saying, could they get the CP in? That would change everything. I'm not sure she's allowed to testify, because she wasn't at the scene that day. So everything she will say will be hearsay. Won't it? Because the mom isn't on trial, so I don't think she's allowed to testify. I think maybe emboldened by the smash court thing, I think we could get the CP some way. Why can't... Am I missing someone? I can't see gossip, rumors, and innuendos. Did she block me? Could be. I would block me if I could. I don't have a problem. Oh, you don't have a problem with the mom, but even with that profession, the goal is always to set your children up to be better. Yeah, but the problem is she brought her kid into that profession. Allegedly. According to the civil suit, they didn't only sell pictures of the daughter. Allegedly, they also sold access. And that's the big no-no part for me. Well, all of it is a big, but Lord Chippy should be not coal-fired that day. He should be powered by, I don't know, rainworms, so he's slow when they go through him. Yeah, I'm getting this. Even though I was told I can't have an opinion about the American courts, the American court system, because I come from a totalitarian, no, an inquisitorial court system. I still believe that you need better juries. You need to pay them better, and you need to educate them better, and you need to not use all of that lawyer talk, because not closing statements, the instructions, they are way too complicated, and I think a lot of jurors don't understand, and then they just go in there and think, I don't know, they must be guilty because they're being charged. No one innocent is being charged. Let's get out of here. It's Monday. King George used to tell us that too. Yeah, and see how it's gone since you left the warm bosom of Britain. You would have been better off. Always with you and your Swedish-led rebellions. Yeah, you can interpret it that way too, because they don't know the CP stuff. Now it just sounds like he was mad at the sister, so that's why he unalived the mom. I didn't think about that one. Thank you, Julio. Yeah, what is reasonable doubt? And but I don't know how to change it, because one of the things we always laugh about America is that you are a nation of lawyers. Well, not you, because you're not an American, you're an Aussie. But Americans are a nation of lawyers, and you can clearly see when every time things gets complicated, it's because too many lawyers was in the same room. And jury instructions are often more confusing than they are helping the jury, and the judge hates to read them, so either they speed read them or they read them like you're being forced to read Dostoevsky, and it's not conducive for the job that they're there to do. Go in and find a verdict. I'm not saying our system is better, our system is perfect, but again, we are read the law. What does 244 say? These elements need to be there. Did the state prove that? No. Yes. Partly. Okay. That's when we find you guilty or not guilty. That's what we are discussing in the verdict room is, did they prove what it says in the charging document? We don't get 45 minutes of lecture every single time we're in a courtroom. That we are instructed by the judge that any reasonable doubt, not any doubt, but any reasonable doubt should benefit the defendant. And then they'll say, by reasonable doubt, we mean not just because it could be, if it's a solar solstice, it could have maybe something else could have happened. No, you have to listen to what have the witnesses said. Okay, there's no doubt that because that witness, the physical evidence, there's no reasonable doubt that can point to something else. It's not any doubt, because there will always be a little doubt that could be raised, but it's any reasonable doubt. If you can see him on a surveillance video and he says, well, it clearly wasn't me. Yeah, that's not really reasonable doubt to say, well, look at the picture, it's not me. So we have these instructions as well, but we do it very easily and conversationally. We don't have this, if you cannot find the accused guilty in the first, then you will have to blah, 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 blah. And it's just, I don't like that system. And I think because they are doing it, the lawyers and the judges are doing it together, it gets too convoluted. because I want that in. Well, I want that in. Well, I want that in. That in. The jury just needs to know, what does the law say? What is murder one in South Carolina? What is reasonable doubt? And what's for dinner? I'm having meatballs again today. Have you tried doing the Jamie thing and just staying inside? Dostoevsky is brilliant. You read. It's very, very slow reading. What happens if someone in the gallery yells at mistrial? I almost any way, I think the judge will rule a mistrial. That's, again, I don't know. That's my guess. Is they would probably go for a mistrial and say, we have to do it again because you tainted my mind, or the jury's mind. Damn it, everyone's doing okay today. The world only orbits around Jamie's driveway for one person. That's where you're wrong. Everyone orbits around Jamie's driveway. She is the center of the earth. Oh. So I'm not the only grumpy one today. This is not annoying at all that we have to sit here and wait. That's a bad one. At this point, should I just end it and go make dinner, and then hopefully we can do something in the afternoon, because this is the slowest case in the world. Yeah, you are a nation of lawyers. Someone mentioned earlier that it was sad that a Juilliard trained pianist had to busk on the street for money. Yeah, we see that. I had a lot of friends who went on to the conservatory. I don't know if you call it that, when that's music school, and it's just, I don't know if you need to be realistic in the amount of people you allow in every year, because I don't know how much you pay to go to Juilliard. He had a scholarship, but most musicians will never ever be Michael Jackson. Like most YouTubers who covers true crime will never ever be Emily D. Baker. We'll be sitting here smiling. Just keep rambling. You'll be all right, fund. Well, I just don't have much to ramble about because I'm such a positive little dogland today. Bad dog, but thank you. But it's just, but probably that's most educations, that the school just accepts you, take your money, and then, oh, sorry, you'll have to play on the streets. On those streets. Yeah, some of them, but some of the YouTubers make money. Valhalla. The rest of us are just getting by. The conservatory also a favorite room in Clue. Maybe he did it with Colonel Mustard in the conservatory. He could have gotten back to a symphony somewhere, but it was coof time, so that was a factor. Yeah, but again, you don't make bank being in a symphony orchestra either. You get minimal pay unless if you're soloist. So unless you're the lead it's just, I had friends who played for, when I was in the Navy band, some of them were, because we have the draft in Denmark, and because they had to serve, of course they'll try and get into a music band, so they don't have to be one of the idiots who run around out in the muck. And when you heard about how it was playing in the big bands, where the ones you saw in concerts and thought, oh, it must be so amazing. Again, I played music for 10, 15 years, so you are sitting there thinking, oh, I wish that would be me. And they said it was absolutely horrible. There was so many clicks in it. There was so many miserable people just sitting there getting drunk all the time. Just, yeah, it wasn't as glamorous as people think. How would a dog wear pants? 2 legs or 4? Wouldn't they wear 4 legs? Because you would give them. Some dogs do. Well, I don't know. If it's 4 legs, then it can't be pants. I'm going with 2 legs. 2 legs. Because it's more of like a onesie that you put them on if it's on all 4 legs. Yeah, and a lot of times you can try and get a job, or you can try and study for a job, or you can try and get a job. That's 2 different things. We have a sketch from a comedy show where these 2 guys are being picked up by an old lady in a car, and they are sitting there talking, and she says, so what are you doing? And they're saying, well, we're between jobs right now. And she said, what does that mean? Well, we're between jobs. Oh, so you don't have a job? Well, I'm between jobs right now. No, you don't have a job. That's what it means. Why don't you have a job? Well, it's hard to get a job. Well, why can't you get a job? Well, it's not like I'm going to work in a warehouse. And she says, why? Well, I got this canned skin pole, which is the political science degree in Denmark. And she said, so why can't you work in a warehouse? I didn't spend 6 years studying that to work in a warehouse. And she said, I work in a warehouse. Is there something wrong working in a warehouse? And I think a lot of times, a lot of these people who go to school will believe that manna will drop from the heavens and everything will be great if they just go to school. But in reality, in Denmark, most of the degrees in the human, I don't know what you call it in English, but the ones like social studies and that, 42% of them won't have a job within 5 years of finishing the degree. And those who have, I think it's like 50% has a job related to their studies. And I'm just saying, if you're paying 30, 40, 50,000 a year to get a degree that you won't use, should have been a baker instead. I went on a rant. I don't know where I went. Hey, Claire. Yeah, I don't disagree. Maybe he should try and enforce a mistrial. But again, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. How do you sink a Swedish submarine? Yeah, you knock on the door. The Swedes don't have submarines. Neither does the Danish. I think maybe the Norwegians still have some left. But we are about to get some. We have been talking about it for the last, I think, 5 years, that we will have, at some point, we'll have a submarine capacity again. The last 2 we had was diesel subs. Very high tech. And just like you sent the Marines to Iraq 1, we sent a submarine to fight in a desert war. Because we're Danish. Playing in a band, rockstar. Playing in the band, rock nerd, like Baker. Well, I'm not a nerd. I just like to drink beer and watch the ladies change clothes because we wore old Navy uniforms and we had co-ed changings. So who's the smart one now, Zach? Oh, someone's a little behind. I don't know if he threw him through him. Yeah, I'm about there as well because nothing happens. Wasn't it? Didn't they just find a sunken Russian submarine that I think either hit a rock or a whale? I'm between jobs, paper round and pensioner. Yeah. How can you recognize Swedish toilet paper? It has instruction on every sheet. Are you implying the Swedes are stupid? Because then I would agree with you. Thank you, Bad Dog. It could be something like that, yeah. I remember something, but I can't remember. I don't know where they are. They just went to sidebar and then we never know what happens in this trial. But I'm just thinking I'm gonna set up an afternoon stream for 2. If something happens, something will catch up because there'll be so many sidebars, and I love you all. I've been told that I have to say that in but we're just sitting here spinning the wheels, and it annoys me. This case is going so little somewhere. So I'm gonna go make my dinner. I don't have to stress about it. We'll catch up whenever it comes back, and then you can go get your lunch, take a shower, hang out, kick the rocks, do something, and I'll be back at, I think I'm gonna be back at, don't they normally start at 2? I'm gonna be back at 2:30. If anything interesting happens, follow me on the social medias, and I will. If I go live earlier, I'll tell you. But right now, again, it's just sitting here, shooting the shizzle. And I don't have anything else to talk about right now. Thank you, Bad Dog, for being a member for 5 months. Hurdy-gurdy-gurdy. They should be back. I can't see them. Fifth News is posting stuff from 5 minutes ago. Then they won't be back here until 30 minutes. So I'll rather just go make my dinner, and then we'll catch up later because nothing's happened. And then we can cut out the breaks in the afternoon. I think that's the one I'm going to do, and then I'll redirect you over to the afternoon stream so you can do all the YouTube-y things. And yeah, this is annoying. Just so we don't have so much downtime where I have to sit here and get more grumpy. I'll go make myself some dinner and ungrumpify myself. Please come back in the afternoon and be kind, be nice. Always remember, neuter and spade your PDF files.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
Checking your honor.
So you literally built a cannon Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No,
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
no,
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
probably did. Everybody has.
So there-
Everybody has.